Father, forgive them. When Jesus was crucified, he went through a lot of physical pain, a lot of torture. He also went through a lot of emotional distress. I sometimes probably don't give enough account to the emotional fortitude that Jesus demonstrated in his last week and his last days. He had to have a lot of conviction and commitment to humble himself to God's will, to think of others during his agony. It would have been very easy to say, let me get through this, then I'll think of others, Yet we see him making sure his mother was taken care of while he was nailed to a cross. Not least among these emotional fortitudes, intentional perfection, he was a man of forgiveness on the cross. The natural human response to such unjust suffering would have been easy to understand as condemnation, to seek vengeance, or to call down judgment on those who were putting him to death. It might feel reasonable or even expected for him to condemn those who falsely accused him. Yet he did the opposite. On the cross, in the midst of his agony, he cried out, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." And I would suggest that we are they. We are the ones that have put him to death, and yet he called for our forgiveness in that moment. The emotional weight of choosing forgiveness must have been immense. To forgive those who were inflicting such pain is the ultimate expression of grace. If Jesus had acted otherwise, if he had condemned those who he came to save, he would have contradicted his entire mission. He was dying not only for his followers, but even for his executioners. Earlier, during his trial, when he faced false accusations, Jesus remained silent before his accusers, choosing not to retaliate. His calmness and restraint reflected a profound understanding of his mission and purpose, emphasizing that his death was not just to fulfill a prophecy, but for the redemption of all humanity that would choose to come to him. We're called to be Christ's disciples. As we take the bread today, we reflect on our own need for forgiveness. We come to this table, how often, with contrite hearts of our failures of the week, begging to be forgiven. But do we in turn set our minds to be resolute disciples, to be intentional with our own struggle for forgiveness? We often feel justified holding on to our anger, our grudges against those who have very clearly wronged us. Yet, if we're going to be disciples of Jesus Christ, we must forgive even when it feels natural or undeserved. In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus taught, "For if you forgive other people when they sin against you, your heavenly Father will also forgive you." Holding on to condemnation while proclaiming forgiveness to the world, while taking grace to sinners, is a contradiction to the message of the gospel. So as we ask for forgiveness this morning, let us make sure we commit this week to forgive those who have hurt us. We can show grace to the car cutting us off. We can show grace to the waitress who has too many tables to pay attention to our tea glass. We can show grace to the angry SVP who is under a lot of pressure and yelling at us. There's so many places, big and small, that we can carry this grace forward into the world we live in. As disciples who are called to bring grace into this world, who come before this table begging for forgiveness, let's set our hearts to be disciplined, intent to forgive.